Germany has voted, and it is the end of the road for Chancellor Olaf Scholz. He'll most likely be replaced by this man, Friedrich Merz. His conservatives won the most votes today.
Germany's elections just ended a few days ago, and the guy who's likely to be the next chancellor of Germany is bad news for Russia. Friedrich Merz, the leader of the CDU and the potential next chancellor of Germany, said that the only way to preserve peace is by being ready for war. During election season, he was clear in his message to Germany and Europeans. If Europe wants its security preserved for the long term, then it must make sure that Putin, the aggressor in this war, loses and Ukraine gets its full territorial integrity back. Last year, he was one of the biggest critics of then German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who refused to give Ukraine the Taurus missiles even after the United States approved the permissions for ATACMS and UK approved its Storm Shadows. This was his plan before the election as to how to stop this war. Let's listen.
You are personally responsible for this. With your attitude that Ukraine has to fight with one hand tied behind its back, it can't go on like this.
Mit einer Hand auf dem Rücken kämpfen muss. Das geht so nicht weiter.
If Putin does not accept this, then the next step must be taken.
Nicht akzeptiert, dann muss
He must be told that if he doesn't stop bombing the civilian population in Ukraine within 24 hours, then Taurus cruise missiles must also be delivered from the Federal Republic of Germany to destroy the supply routes that this regime is using to damage and bomb the civilian population in Ukraine.
nutzt, die Zivilbevölkerung in der Ukraine zu beschädigen und zu bombardieren. Und wissen Sie,
I can't help feeling that the threats of the use of tactical nuclear weapons throughout the West are also having a considerable effect on them.
Waffen im ganzen Westen auch bei Ihnen doch erhebliche Wirkung erzielen. Ich fühle mich in den letzten Wochen immer mehr und immer häufiger.
Over the last few weeks, I have been reminded more and more frequently of the words of the French philosopher Michel de Montaigne, who once said, "Fear is the mother of all cowardice."
Montaigne, der einmal gesagt hat, Angst ist die Mutter aller Grausamkeiten. Herr Bundeskanzler, es wird
Mr. Chancellor, it is time for you, and it is also time for us,
überwinden vor Putin.
to overcome our fear of Putin in order to really put an end to the atrocities in Ukraine together. Now,
Before we move forward, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below to keep up with all the geopolitical news. Now, Taurus is definitely going to be a game changer. It's a 1.5-ton cruise missile with a turbofan engine propelling it to a high subsonic speeds over a distance of around 300 miles or 500 kilometers. On top of that, it has a 1,100-pound dual warhead with a smaller charge to blow a hole in any target and a bigger charge to explode the target from the inside. This is exactly why the Ukrainian Air Force has been so desperate to get its hands on the Taurus, but this was also the same reason why former Chancellor refused to give it to Ukraine, because he thought giving Ukraine something so powerful that can strike deep inside Russia could lead to escalation. Once Ukraine gets Taurus, it will become the highest range missile in Ukrainian arsenal. This will pose a big problem for the Russian Air Force and even Russian bases, because we have to remember, before the ATACMS were approved, Russia was already prepared for it. It had moved all its bases and all its important logistical locations outside of the range of the missiles. But now with Taurus, the range that Ukraine can strike within goes up considerably, and that means the Russian bases need to be even farther from the front lines. And on top of that, Russian jets are even less safe in the skies. So far, the way Russia has been using its jets is they just go up in air in the Russian borders, Russian skies, and they drop these so-called glide bombs that just slide into Ukraine and then attack whatever target Russia wants to attack. Usually, it's a hospital or a school, because Russia loves to hurt civilians. But now, these jets have to launch their glide bombs from even further from the front line, making it harder for Russia to hit its target. And on top of that, the Ukrainian jamming and countermeasures have become so effective that the Russian glide bombs, only 1 in 14 are actually hitting their targets. But that's something we'll jump into more details in another video. Anyways, coming back to the German Chancellor, he hasn't just been pro-Ukrainian. He's been really open to criticizing any other party in Germany that's pro-Putin or pro-appeasement, because he realizes that only way to achieve peace is to make sure that Putin is not able to take over Ukraine and then rearm and come back for the next Baltic state.
Look at the pictures, Mrs. Weidel, and look at the people in Ukraine. You just said a very treacherous sentence here. We are no longer perceived by Russia as neutral. No, Mrs. Weidel, we are not neutral. We are not in between. We are on the side of Ukraine and defend the political order we have here with Ukraine. Your words that you just spoke here are a confirmation for me that I will do everything to prevent you from ever getting political responsibility in this country. These are the people we stand behind.
Since Russia started its invasion in 2022, Germany has provided $18 billion of aid to Ukraine, making it the second largest nation in terms of aid provided, only after the United States. But as soon as the election victory was finalized, Friedrich Merz, the likely chancellor, came out publicly and said that it's not enough. Germany needs to step up its support of Ukraine if it wants to make sure the war doesn't come to its borders. Let's listen to that clip.
The first question we have to ask ourselves is, do we continue to support Ukraine so that it can defend itself? In my opinion, we have not done enough to date. Otherwise, this war would not have lasted 3 years by tomorrow. The second question is, how do we secure NATO territory in the immediate vicinity of Ukraine? You are probably familiar with Poland's stance on this issue. Poland and the Baltic states place the utmost importance on us better protecting NATO territory in their countries. That is why the Federal Republic of Germany is also setting up a brigade in Lithuania, which is the right thing to do. So these are the questions that arise at the moment. All the others do not arise at all.
Now, Germany is the largest economy in Europe, and Germans waking up against Russia is definitely not a good news for Putin. But the bad news don't just stop there. All the while Germany is stepping up its support, European leaders are meeting with Zelensky in London today, and the goal of the meeting is simple. The time for talk has passed, and it's time for acting, especially since the United States seems to be pulling back its support of Ukraine. Now, this meeting comes days after the whole blow-up that we all watched in the White House with Zelensky, Trump, and Vance. Right after that fallout, it seemed that every European leader had showed their support for Ukraine and President Zelensky, either in form of a statement on Twitter or a full-on video statement to their local media. Now, all the same leaders are in London to make sure Ukraine has enough to continue its fight against Russia and Russian aggression. This is what UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer had to say when it came to UK's support for Ukraine. He kept it simple and straightforward. UK will support and stand with Ukraine for as long as it may take. Let's listen to the speech together.
Cheers on the street outside. You have full backing across the United Kingdom, and we stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take. And I hope you heard some of that cheering in the street. That is the people of the United Kingdom coming out to demonstrate how much they support you, how much they support Ukraine, and our absolute determination to stand with you, unwavering determination, and to achieve what we both want to achieve, which is a lasting peace for Ukraine based on sovereignty and security for Ukraine. So important for Ukraine, so important for Europe, and so important for the United Kingdom. So I'm much looking forward to our discussions here this afternoon. Thank you very much for making the time to come.
With pleasure. Thank you very much, Keir. Mr. Prime Minister, happy to be here. And really, I saw a lot of people, and I want to thank you, people of the United Kingdom, such big support from the very beginning of this war. Thank you, your team. And I'm very happy that His Majesty the King accepted my meeting tomorrow, and I'm thankful that you organized such a great summit for tomorrow. And we are very happy in Ukraine that we have such strategic partners. We signed with you historic documents.
100-year agreement.
Yeah, we have only with you such documents with the United Kingdom. So we're happy, and we count on your support. And really, we're really happy that we have such partners and such friends.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia.
Now, Europe has a GDP 4 times that of Russia. It has significantly more people, significantly bigger military capacity, and significantly more manufacturing capacity. And Russia knows all this, and that's exactly why Russian TV, Kremlin TV, is already freaking out about the fact that Europe may create its own military union, a European NATO of sorts. Now, we're still very far away from that, but the wind is blowing in the right direction. And this is exactly what the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, pointed out before he went on to his flight to London to meet in this emergency summit. 500 million Europeans should not be asking 300 million Americans to defend themselves against 140 million Russians. Europe is better than Russia in almost every aspect, so it just needs the political will to stand up to Russian aggression and let Russia know that Europe wants peace, but it's ready for war. Here's the statement from the Polish Prime Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a paradox that has been overlooked. Just consider this. 500 million Europeans are asking 300 million Americans to defend them against 140 million Russians. I want to repeat these words. If you know how to count, count on yourself. Start relying on yourself, not in isolation, but with an awareness of your own potential. Europe, if there is something we lack today, it is not economic or demographic power, but the belief that we are truly a global force.
Now, this emergency meeting, and on top of that, how Europe has been stepping up its action in the last few weeks as Trump pulls out of Ukrainian support, has been the worst case scenario for Putin, because he does not want a stronger Europe. He does not want a Europe that spends more on its defenses and that's ready to fight against Russia. The whole reason Putin was so emboldened to attack all these countries, Georgia, Ukraine, Moldova, is because he saw what was happening in Europe. The defense spending was going down, and only thing European countries depended on was the NATO Article 5. But now that that's going away, now that that seems to be weaker, I wouldn't say it's going away, at least not yet, the Article 5 does seem to be weaker because of some of the statements made by members of the Trump administration. Europe is waking up and it's realizing that it needs to spend on its own defenses. And credit where credit is due, Trump was calling for this since his first administration, and this time, even though his actions are a bit problematic, he's achieving the goal of Europe taking responsibility for its own support, for its own defense. And now let's see how the Russian media, the Kremlin TV, is reacting to all this.
Looking at all the statements by Merz and Hollande, I would not take them lightly. It is very serious. I think that the European Union can repeat the four-power pact option that was in 1933. Britain, Italy, France, and Germany, and give Germany the rights to arm itself and create a large European army. That's what this alliance of four could do, repeating that experience. Although it was unsuccessful in 1933, the idea could be revived again within the European Union. So I would not neglect these countries, as many of us do. These states have a strong military history and tradition. Quite recently, they were among the strongest armies in the world. So we should not be dismissive of them and underestimate the danger from them.
Lastly, as you guys know, over the last 2 weeks, few of our videos have been demonetized by YouTube for talking about sensitive topics and covering violent events. This is why recently we opened up memberships on the channel. This way you guys can directly support our content. Again, you don't have to do it, we'll continue making the videos, but if you enjoy the content and you're able to support us, you can do so by signing up for our membership. It costs less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks and it's greatly appreciated.
In a stunning move that's left Russia licking its wounds, Sweden has dealt Putin a massive blow that is guaranteed to shift the tides of the war in Ukraine. With over 1,000 days passed since the Russian invasion of Ukraine started, Sweden has delivered its 17th military package for Ukraine, one that is carefully designed to destroy Russian troops on the battlefield. From the dispatch of the historic PBV-302 armored personnel carriers to potentially sending game-changing Gripen fighter jets, Sweden, NATO's newest member, is stepping up against Russia in unprecedented ways. But what exactly drives this massive wave of support? Well, beyond the military hardware it's giving out, there's a rich well of history, strategy, and unyielding resolve. Sweden's decisive actions are not just about helping a neighbor in need, but are also rooted in centuries-old conflicts and strategic chess moves in the Baltic region. Join us as we delve into the reasons for Sweden's unwavering support of Ukraine, the military aid and wartime efforts, and the nail in the coffin that it has just dealt Russia. Unfiltered truths about Russian war-related videos hardly ever make it here on YouTube's main feed, because Putin's bots and the algorithm suppress our reach. We have already gotten a channel taken down because of it. That's why we appreciate it when you like our videos and share them with your friends. It goes a long way. To date, Sweden has been one of Ukraine's biggest allies in this war of freedom and sovereignty against Russian aggression. This is interesting, as Sweden has for 200 years pushed a policy of neutrality that has made them bystanders to numerous wars. Sweden even sat out both World Wars and the Cold War. However, Russian aggression in recent years has changed that for them, and they are now active on the battlefield. Recently, in a move that rattled Moscow, the Scandinavian nation made a significant delivery of the Panzervagn 302, popularly known as the PBV 302, armored personnel carriers, to Ukraine to aid its war effort. Russia has every right to be worried as it sees this. This military vehicle is in a class of its own, and it threatens to wreak havoc on enemy troops on the front line. The Panzervagn 302, popularly known as the PBV 302, is a beast of a vehicle that offers a combination of high mobility, durability, and versatility, making it a crucial asset for Ukrainian forces. Designed to navigate rough off-road terrains, soft surfaces like mud and sand, and even water obstacles, the PBV 302 ensures that soldiers can maneuver effectively in diverse landscapes, especially when engaged in combat with North Korean troops in the Kursk region of Russia, where the warfare is heavy. With its robust front armor, capable of withstanding direct impacts from 20mm artillery shells, the PBV 302 provides vital protection for its crew and passengers against enemy fire. Armed with a 20mm Hispano-Suiza automatic cannon, the PBV 302 can engage enemy infantry and provide critical fire support during combat operations. This firepower, coupled with its ability to carry a crew of 3 and up to 8 passengers, allows the PBV 302 to perform various roles on the battlefield, from troop transport to direct engagement with enemy forces. Ukrainian military officials have highlighted the ease of handling and ergonomic design of the PBV 302, which enables soldiers to quickly adapt to its controls and operate the vehicle effectively in high-stress situations. What's good about this military vehicle as well is that it is battle-tested. The PBV 302 was used by the Swedish Army during peacekeeping missions in the Balkans, specifically in Bosnia and Kosovo, as part of the Implementation Force and Kosovo Force missions. These deployments were part of international efforts to stabilize the region, and this military vehicle proved its worth in different conditions. The PBV 302's versatility extends to its capacity to carry wounded soldiers, making it an essential component for medical evacuations. This capability ensures that injured personnel can be transported safely from the front lines to medical facilities, enhancing the overall resilience of Ukrainian forces. Moreover, the vehicle's maintenance accessibility, with key components easily accessible from inside the cabin, reduces downtime and keeps the PBV 302 operational for longer periods, which is crucial in sustained combat operations. After all, reliability is the key factor when it comes to military equipment. That's why the Swedish PBV 302's proven track record and adaptability in various combat scenarios makes it an invaluable addition to Ukraine's defense arsenal, and a nightmare for the Russians. Its combination of mobility, protection, firepower, ease of use, and maintenance accessibility significantly enhances the operational effectiveness of Ukrainian soldiers. As they continue to face the challenges of the ongoing conflict, the PBV 302 stands as a testament to Sweden's commitment to supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russian aggression, providing the necessary tools they need. This comes at a time when updated data on Russian losses show that 750,000 of their troops have been killed or wounded. Clearly, they are already having a tough time, and Sweden's gift will make it even worse. The PBV-302s aren't the only gift that Sweden has given, however. They, together with Denmark, have placed a joint order for 205 CV-90 infantry fighting vehicles, or IFVs, from the Swedish military equipment manufacturer BAE Systems Hägglunds. Of these, 40 vehicles are specifically reserved for aiding Ukraine. This is not a small thing. With the order being valued at over $2.2 billion, it is a huge step by Sweden, one that will knock Russia out and significantly boost Ukraine's military capabilities. The CV-90 Mark III-C is equipped with advanced turrets that provide enhanced situational awareness, mobility, protection, and effectiveness against enemy targets. These IFVs are designed to offer high levels of protection, which have been crucial in saving soldiers' lives in direct combat situations. The vehicles are also highly valued for their ability to operate in diverse terrains, making them suitable for the challenging environments in Ukraine. The importance of these IFVs lie in their ability to enhance Ukraine's ground capabilities. With improved protection and firepower, Ukrainian forces can engage more effectively in direct combat, providing better support for their defensive operations. These IFVs will enable Ukrainian soldiers to maneuver more safely and efficiently on the battlefield, potentially changing the dynamics of the conflict. This joint funding by Sweden and Denmark for these vehicles highlights the strong international support for Ukraine. This collaboration not only strengthens Ukraine's defense, but also demonstrates a united stance against Russian aggression. The deployment of these IFVs will no doubt significantly impact the war by bolstering Ukraine's ability to resist and counter Russian advances, contributing to the overall stability and security of the region. As dangerous as the IFVs are, Sweden has given Ukraine even more weapons to help it neutralize the Russian threat. Take the Archer artillery system that Ukraine received, for example. This system is all about precision and range. The Archer units allow Ukrainian forces to strike enemy positions accurately from a safe distance, which is a massive strategic advantage. Imagine being able to take out key targets without exposing your soldiers to direct combat. That's what the Archers bring to the table. Sweden has also supplied a variety of anti-tank weapons, including the Carl Gustaf recoilless rifle and the next-generation light anti-tank weapon. These weapons are crucial in countering the threat of Russian armed vehicles that have been troublesome, giving Ukraine troops the ability to neutralize tanks and other heavily armored threats. The next-generation light anti-tank weapons were among the first batch of military aid Sweden provided to Ukraine in early of 2022, shortly after the invasion began, and given the disparity in casualties, 1 Ukrainian soldier for every 5 Russian soldiers, I'd say they're working quite well. In addition to these, Sweden provided the ASC-890 airborne surveillance and control aircraft to improve situational awareness. These planes are like eyes in the sky, gathering vital intelligence and helping coordinate military operations. With these aircraft, Ukraine has been able to better monitor enemy movements and plan their strategies more effectively. Sweden has also sent Leopard 2 main battle tanks to bolster Ukraine's armored capabilities. These tanks are renowned for their durability, firepower, and advanced targeting systems. They're a major upgrade for Ukrainian ground forces, allowing them to engage in more effective armored warfare. The Leopard 2 tanks were part of a larger military support package, one of 17 that Sweden has sent since 2022. Unlike most general military packages, Sweden's packages have been centered around the present needs of the Ukrainian troops. For operations in riverine and coastal environments, Sweden has supplied group boats, also known as G-boats. These versatile boats are essential for a variety of missions, including troop transport, reconnaissance, and small-scale amphibious operations. Their deployment enhances Ukraine's ability to conduct operations in diverse terrains, including rivers and coastal areas. Sweden began donating G-boats to Ukraine in February this year as part of a comprehensive maritime initiative to bolster Ukraine in that sector. As part of that same initiative, Sweden has provided anti-ship missiles to strengthen Ukraine's coastal defense. These missiles are crucial for protecting Ukraine's maritime borders and preventing naval incursions by Russian forces. By bolstering Ukraine's coastal defenses, Sweden helps ensure that critical sea routes remain secure. Recognizing the dangers posed by mines and other explosive hazards, Sweden has also contributed demining equipment to Ukraine. This equipment is essential for clearing minefields and ensuring the safe movement of troops and civilians in conflict zones. Demining efforts are critical for both military operations and post-conflict construction, helping to create safer environments for everyone involved. Such equipment ensures the safety of citizens when the war is done. Sweden has also provided specialized winter equipment to support Ukraine's military operations in harsh winter conditions. This includes winter clothing, gear, and equipment designed to withstand extreme cold, ensuring that Ukrainian soldiers remain operational and effective even in the most challenging weather. Compared to the struggling, poorly supplied Russian troops, the Ukrainian soldiers will battle from a point of advantage. In addition to these contributions, Sweden has supplied various types of advanced ammunition, enhancing Ukraine's firepower and combat capabilities. This includes precision-guided munitions and other specialized ammunition that allows Ukrainian forces to strike targets more effectively. With all those packages sent and billions spent in support, you would think that's enough to satisfy Sweden. But, well, you'd be wrong. Sweden is also considering sending its advanced Gripen fighter jets to Ukraine as part of its ongoing military support. The Gripen, known for its versatility and cost-effectiveness, is a fourth-generation multi-role combat vehicle designed to excel in both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. The potential transfer of these jets to Ukraine holds significant implications for both Russia and Ukraine. Firstly, the Gripen's advanced avionics and weaponry, including air-to-air missiles like the Meteor, would bolster Ukraine's air defense capabilities. This advancement would help counter Russian aircraft and provide better protection for Ukrainian airspace. Given that Russia's Air Force has a mix of modern and older aircraft, with some dating back to the Cold War, this modern addition by Sweden is a complete game-changer, exactly what the doctor ordered for Kyiv. With the ability to perform various roles, from air superiority to ground attack, the Gripen offers Ukrainian forces greater operational flexibility. Military experts have emphasized non-stop how the advanced radar systems, missile capabilities, and overall combat effectiveness of the Gripen jets will come in handy. Such adaptability is crucial in a dynamic combat environment where threats can come from multiple directions. Another advantage of the Gripen is its design for ease of maintenance and operation. This feature is essential for Ukraine's logistics and operational efficiency, ensuring that the aircraft can be kept in service with minimal downtime even in challenging conditions. Ukrainian pilots who have already trained on the Gripen are familiar with its systems and capabilities. This prior training allows for smoother integration of the jets into Ukraine's Air Force, reducing the time needed for pilots to become proficient in operating these sophisticated aircraft. All this strategic support that comes with the Gripen jets, in addition to other military hardware, strengthens the partnership between Sweden and Ukraine, demonstrating Sweden's commitment to supporting Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression. This move aligns with Sweden's broader goal as a NATO member to contribute to collective security in the region. Sweden's fight with Russia has not just been military warfare alone, but a huge portion of it has been the countering of hybrid warfare tactics. This particular spot has been Russia's field of expertise, and they have used it heavily in bringing Ukraine to the brink of breaking. Russia has been employing a range of hybrid warfare tactics against Ukraine, blending conventional and unconventional methods to destabilize the country without engaging in a full-scale war. Let's dive into this hybrid warfare and see just what Russia has been doing. By understanding this, we will understand the impact of Sweden's relief aid. One of the most notable aspects of Russia's hybrid warfare is its use of cyber attacks. Russian-linked groups have been active in cyber espionage and financially motivated ransomware attacks, targeting Ukrainian government institutions, critical infrastructure, and private companies. These cyber attacks aim to disrupt operations, steal sensitive information, and create chaos within Ukraine's digital infrastructure. In addition to this, the disinformation campaigns are another key component of Russia's hybrid warfare strategy. Pro-Russian narratives and anti-Ukrainian propaganda are spread throughout social media, state-controlled media outlets, and online trolls. These campaigns aim to sow discord, manipulate public opinion, and undermine trust in the Ukrainian government. By spreading false information and alternative narratives, Russia seeks to weaken Ukraine's social cohesion and political stability. This is one of the problems that we suffer as a channel as well. Russian bots are constantly trying to sabotage our content and undermine the truth. But thankfully, we have a strong community. In a few minutes, we'll explain how Sweden's efforts are helping to neutralize things like that. For now, let's talk about the internet, or rather, the lack of it. One of the lesser-known but crucial battlegrounds in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia involves the intricate web of underwater telecommunications cables. Recently, the Baltic Sea has become a hotspot for suspicious activities, particularly the severing of these vital cables. Just imagine, you're in the middle of a tense situation, and suddenly, communication lines go dead. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It's the reality Ukraine is facing due to potential sabotage from Russian influence. Just last month, 2 critical underwater fiber optic cables were severed in the Baltic Sea, more than 100 nautical miles apart. One of these cables connected Lithuania to Sweden's Gotland Islands, while the other stretched from Helsinki to Germany's port of Rostock. The timing and precision of these incidents raised eyebrows, especially since a Chinese-flagged vessel, Yipeng 3, was nearby at the time, allegedly dragging an anchor across the seabed. This vessel had departed from a Russian port and was carrying Russian-produced fertilizer, adding more layers to the mystery. Given how China has been a staunch ally of Russia, it is not difficult to put the pieces together. While China officially claims a stance of neutrality, its actions paint a different picture. Economically, China has stepped in as a crucial partner for Russia, helping to mitigate the effects of Western sanctions. Trade between the two countries surged to a record of $240 billion in 2023, providing Russia with much-needed economic lifelines. Moreover, China has supplied Russia with dual-use technology, which are items that can serve both civilian and military purposes. This includes components for drones and rocket technology, which are essential for Russia's defense production. Such supplies have been critical in sustaining Russia's military operations in Ukraine. The military cooperation between the two nations has also grown. They conducted joint military drills, which included anti-missile exercises, sea strikes, and air defense training. These activities not only strengthen their military ties, but also send a clear message of their strategic partnership. Politically as well, China has offered substantial backing to Russia. It has refrained from condemning Russia's actions in Ukraine and has often criticized Western sanctions against Russia. This political support helps Russia maintain its stance on the global stage despite international criticism. That's why the international community heavily suspected China of deliberately breaking the underwater communication lines on behalf of Russia. The disruption caused by these incidents highlights a key tactic in Russian hybrid warfare: sabotage. By targeting critical infrastructure like underwater cables, Russia aims to create uncertainty and fear, destabilizing the region without engaging in direct combat. These cables are the lifelines of modern communication and energy transfer, and their damage can have far-reaching consequences. Sweden, recognizing the threat posed, has stepped up its efforts to protect these vital assets. Working closely with NATO and other allies, Sweden is enhancing surveillance and physical defenses, such as burying cables deeper and using tougher materials for pipelines. These measures are part of a broader strategy to counter Russian hybrid warfare tactics, which also includes cyber defense, disinformation countermeasures, and increased intelligence sharing. Sweden has even appointed a special envoy to counter these hybrid threats, signaling its commitment to addressing these unconventional tactics head-on. By fortifying its defenses and fostering international cooperation, Sweden is not only protecting its own interests, but also standing firm in support of Ukraine. On top of this communications destabilization, Russia has been for the longest time using economic pressure as a tool in its hybrid warfare against Ukraine. By leveraging its control over energy supplies, Russia has attempted to exert economic pressure on Ukraine and its allies. This includes manipulating gas prices, cutting off energy supplies, and using economic sanctions to weaken Ukraine's economy and its ability to sustain the war effort. Sweden, however, has stood strong as a shield for Ukraine. To counter Russia, Sweden has grown to become Ukraine's largest trade partner in Northern Europe. The trade between the two countries has been growing significantly, especially since the onset of the conflict in Ukraine. In 2023, despite Ukraine being at war, Sweden's exports to Ukraine reached around $586 million, and so far in 2024, it has exported over $500 million worth of goods, with key products including machinery, equipment, paper products, vehicles, and pharmaceuticals. This help by Sweden has helped Ukraine economically and has countered Russia's unfair practices. To say that Sweden has been a strong ally of Ukraine somewhat feels like a gross understatement. Outside of the mentioned arenas, their support spans from diplomatic efforts to sustainable humanitarian aid, demonstrating a deep commitment to helping Ukraine navigate these challenging times. One significant diplomatic effort was the Harpsund Summit, hosted by Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson this year. This summit was a gathering of heads of government from the Nordic and Baltic countries, along with Poland. They focused on Euro-Atlantic security, which is basically how to keep the region safe and stable, especially with the ongoing conflicts. The leaders discussed transatlantic relations, which is all about the bond between Europe and North America, security in the Baltic Sea region, and long-term support for Ukraine. One of the key outcomes was a joint declaration that emphasized Europe taking greater responsibility for its own security. This means that European countries are committed to working more closely together to protect themselves and each other. This is already a countermeasure against further aggression by Putin, were he to embark on it. At this summit, Sweden also spearheaded agreements to strengthen their support for Ukraine, which included military assistance and investments in the Ukrainian defense industry. This is huge because it means that Ukraine is not just getting immediate help, but also support to build its own long-term defense capabilities. Sweden's support is not just about sending tanks and guns, but its humanitarian and civil support to Ukraine has been equally impressive. Since February of 2022, they have provided roughly 5 billion euro, which is about $5.3 billion. This support includes development assistance aimed at helping Ukraine reform and modernize its institutions. This also includes humanitarian relief to help those affected by the conflict. This means providing food, medical supplies, and other essentials to people who are in dire need. This helps ensure that people get the care they need despite the ongoing conflict. They've also been involved in education, helping to rebuild schools and provide educational materials. This is important for the future of Ukraine, because it ensures that children continue to learn and grow despite the chaos around them. Moreover, Swedish businesses are playing a crucial role in Ukraine's reconstruction efforts. With Ukraine facing significant infrastructure damage, Swedish companies are contributing to the rebuilding process. They're supplying modern construction technologies and engaging in the production of building materials. This is critical because rebuilding infrastructure like roads, bridges, and buildings is essential for Ukraine's recovery. It's not just about fixing what's broken, but also building a stronger, more resilient country for the future. On top of that, Sweden has been involved in military initiatives to strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities. This isn't just about sending supplies, but also about making sure that Ukrainian soldiers are well-trained and equipped to defend their country on their own. As if this weren't enough, Sweden has been a vocal advocate for Ukraine on the international stage. It has worked to ensure that the international community remains focused on the conflict and continues to support Ukraine. This includes participating in international forums, pushing for sanctions against Russia, and providing a platform for Ukrainian voices to be heard. By keeping the spotlight on Ukraine, Sweden helps to ensure that the world doesn't forget about the ongoing struggle and continues to provide the necessary support. This has all been part of a broader strategy to support Ukraine's path towards EU membership. This involves providing expert support and negotiating EU chapters, reform support, and initiatives in the Nordic-Baltic cooperation. By helping Ukraine align its policies and practices with those of the EU, Sweden is playing a key role in bringing Ukraine closer to Europe. This support is not just political, but it's also practical, helping Ukraine to develop the institutions and processes it needs to succeed as part of the European community. When you look at this from Sweden's lens, it makes perfect sense. By helping Ukraine, they're also contributing to regional stability. A stable and secure Ukraine means a more stable and secure Europe. This benefits everyone, from individual countries to the broader international community. It means less chance of the conflict spilling over into neighboring countries, and it means that resources can be focused on rebuilding and developing rather than just defense. A huge reason for Sweden supporting Ukraine so much as it is now is the past that Sweden and Russia share. The two nations share a deep history, which is part of why Sweden's support against Russia has been unyielding. Put simply, Sweden understands Russian aggression. Their history dates back to the Viking Age, when Swedish Vikings, known as Varangians, were instrumental in forming the early Russian state of Kievan Rus. This early connection set the stage for centuries of interactions, both cooperative and conflictual. Over the years, the relationship evolved into a series of territorial disputes and wars. The most significant of these conflicts was the Great Northern War, fought between 1700 and 1721, where Sweden, under the rule of King Charles XII, fought against a coalition led by Tsar Peter the Great of Russia. This war ended with Sweden's defeat and marked the end of its status as a major European power. Sweden lost significant territories to Russia, which further solidified Russia's position as a dominant power in the Baltic region. These historical conflicts left a lasting impact on Sweden's national psyche and foreign policy. The memory of territorial losses and military defeats instilled a cautious approach towards Russia, driving Sweden to seek security through alliances and multilateral frameworks. During the Cold War, Sweden maintained a policy of neutrality, balancing its relationships between the Western Bloc and the Soviet Union. However, the collapse of the Soviet Union and the subsequent rise of a resurgent Russia under Vladimir Putin reignited old concerns about regional security. In the modern era, Sweden's relationship with Russia remains complex. Sweden has been increasingly wary of Russia's actions, particularly its aggressive posturing in Eastern Europe and its military incursions into Ukraine and Georgia. This wariness has been compounded by incidents like the suspected Russian submarine incursions into Swedish waters, which have heightened fears of Russian espionage and territorial ambitions. And while we're still on the subject of Swedish waters, let's talk about the Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea has always been a crucial area for Sweden-Russian relations, shaping their interactions over centuries. Historically, control over the Baltic Sea was a significant factor in the numerous wars between Sweden and Russia, especially during the Great Northern War in the early 18th century, where Sweden's defeat in the war led to the loss of its Baltic territories and marked the decline of its power in the region. Even today, the Baltic Sea remains strategically important for both countries. For Sweden, it serves as a vital trade route and a gateway to the rest of Europe. The sea holds significant military importance, with Sweden maintaining a strong naval presence to protect its interests and ensure regional security. The island of Gotland, located in the middle of the Baltic Sea, is particularly strategic due to its proximity to Russia's Baltic Fleet and its potential as a military base. For Russia, the Baltic Sea is equally important. It is a key route for exporting oil and other resources, and the Baltic Fleet is based in Kaliningrad, a strategically located exclave. The sea also provides Russia with access to the wider European region, making it a critical area for both economic and military activities. The significance of the Baltic Sea in regional security dynamics cannot be overstated. Sweden's decision to join NATO this year further heightened the importance of the Baltic Sea, transforming it into what some would describe as a NATO lake. This move has increased the alliance's ability to deploy and sustain forces in the region, presenting a strategic challenge to Russia. It's really no wonder then that with a long history of losing territories to Russia, Sweden is taking a firm stance against Russia's actions. Despite these tensions, there are areas of pragmatic cooperation between Sweden and Russia. Trade continues, albeit cautiously, with both nations recognizing the economic benefits of maintaining certain levels of commercial interaction. Cultural exchanges and dialogue on non-political issues also persists, as these make necessary engagement. The current relationship between Sweden and Russia is thus a blend of cautious diplomacy, historical mistrust, and sensible cooperation. By supporting Ukraine, Sweden aims to counterbalance Russian influence and reinforce the principles of national sovereignty and international law. Another often overlooked but very vital element in the support that Sweden has been offering Ukraine is public opinion. Public opinion in Sweden plays a significant role in shaping the government's policies and actions, especially regarding international conflicts. Since the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine, there has been strong public support in Sweden for helping Ukraine. This support is rooted in shared values of democracy, human rights, and opposition to aggression. Many Swedes empathize with the Ukrainian people's struggle for freedom and self-determination. This empathy is reflected in public surveys and opinion polls, where a large majority of Swedes express support for providing humanitarian aid, military assistance, and financial support to Ukraine. In one such poll this year, over 50% of Swedes responded in a survey that the country should send money and other military equipment. This is a big deal for a country that for 2 centuries has largely kept to itself. The Swedish media has also played a crucial role in highlighting the human stories behind the conflict, bringing the realities of the war closer to Swedish households and fostering a sense of solidarity. This strong public backing for Ukraine influences the Swedish government's decisions. Knowing that the public supports robust actions against Russian aggression, the government feels empowered to take decisive steps, such as advocating for sanctions against Russia, increasing humanitarian aid, and supporting Ukraine's defense efforts. Public opinion acts as a mandate for the government, ensuring that its actions reflect the will of the people. Moreover, Swedish civil society organizations and grassroots movements have been active in raising funds and awareness for Ukraine. These efforts range from organizing charity events to collecting supplies for Ukrainian refugees. The widespread public support and activism create a positive feedback loop where the government and the public reinforce each other's commitment to supporting Ukraine. This alignment between public opinion and government policy ensures a unified and consistent approach to Sweden's support for Ukraine. It also demonstrates how deeply ingrained the values of democracy and human rights are in Swedish society, guiding their response to international crisis. As you can clearly see, Sweden's multifaceted support for Ukraine is a testament to its commitment to regional stability and democratic values. From providing advanced military equipment like the PBV-302s, and considering the transfer of Gripen fighter jets, to taking a stand against hybrid warfare tactics and fostering diplomatic cooperation, Sweden has shown unwavering support for Ukraine. This support is deeply rooted in countering Russian aggression and promoting peace. As this North European country keeps supporting Ukrainian efforts, it's safe to say that, at least to some degree, Russia will be kept at bay. Given how Sweden is not leaving any stone unturned in their fight against injustice, it will be interesting to see just how much longer Russia can keep this up before crumbling to pieces. Before moving on, I want to mention that I'm tired of seeing ads everywhere I go. I mean, how many ads has YouTube shown on this video alone? And that's why we launched a newsletter a few years ago called Global Recaps. We've been sending daily news right to you with no ads. Yeah, that's right. We have sent 2,500 newsletters to date, but not one of them contained an ad. So, if you want global news with no ads and no censorship, this is the solution for you. Sign up now by scanning the QR code on the screen or the link in the description. Sign up today and become more knowledgeable about the world you live in.